welcome back to the Assassin's Creed series review, guys. My name is Midnight Strike 3625, and tonight we're going to take a look at the next installment in the series, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, which was released in 2010 and once again stars playable assassin protagonist Ezio Auditore da Firenze. Now, it should be noted that after Assassin's Creed 2 was released, the series gained a significant, substantial amount of hype surrounding the entirety of the series. While the first one didn't exactly deliver on those dues, the second one definitely propelled the series into a completely different universe by taking into account all of fans' desires. Ubisoft actually went out of their way to say that they even looked on forums to see what they could put in the next Assassin's Creed, which was then Assassin's Creed 2. But where do you go from perfection? How do you rise up? Well, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood is the closest they will come. While it's not a perfect game, it definitely does build off of what makes Assassin's Creed 2 such a monumental landmark of a game. While it's not necessarily better, I do think that Brotherhood is definitely the next best Assassin's Creed game. So basically, you're assassin Ezio Auditore da Firenze, and this game begins right after the events of Assassin's Creed 2 unfold. Literally, like 2 seconds later, you get all of your equipment and everything from Assassin's Creed 2. It places you right in that pivotal moment where Ezio Auditore chooses to spare Rodrigo Borgia's life. Spoiler alert. So basically, that's the only thing that I'm going to say about the ending of Assassin's Creed 2. So basically, he chooses to spare Rodrigo Borgia's life, which you will find out even if you play Brotherhood. So that's one of the other things with this game, though, is one of the flaws, one of the technical flaws of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood is the fact that you can't just jump into it with no prior knowledge of the series and expect to gain a full understanding of what the story is truly about. Unlike where Assassin's Creed 2, you didn't necessarily have to play the first one because it gave a substantial prologue. This one, on the other hand, not so much. It's just kind of like, you're there, it shows you all of the different assassins, and it talks a little bit about Altair and the events of past games of previous installments, but not too much. And that's going to be a continuing trend in games like Revelations, 3, and, of course, Black Flag, which you really don't need to know anything. And I'm not going to spoil the ending of 3, obviously, considering how relatively new it is. So, basically, when you get into Brotherhood, when you take out Brotherhood out of the equation and dissect it for what it is basically, it's not Assassin's Creed 2.5. I'm just going to throw that out there. It is basically a standalone game with a standalone story, and it is about the same length as Assassin's Creed 2, despite what some naysayers and some critics may throw out there. Like I said before, a lot of people like to call this Assassin's Creed 2.5 or an expansion pack or DLC. I myself am guilty of this. When I first played Brotherhood in, I believe it was like December of 2010 on my Xbox, I was really underwhelmed because of certain story events that I'm not really going to name right now due to spoilers. I know I've said that a million times over. Very disappointed in that, and its length, which is only 9 sequences long, even including the DLC, which isn't integrated as well into the main storyline. The Da Vinci disappearance, while it's a very good plot line all on its own, it's not really clear where exactly it fits into the story, because in the beginning of the Da Vinci disappearance, it first shows Leonardo da Vinci and Ezio first meeting after he returns to Rome. So it's really unclear where this story begins, and there's certain things, certain missions that you can do before you meet pivotal characters in the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood storyline, and then they just don't know each other. So it's really kind of confusing on the story part, but this game did definitely implement a lot of key features that will be used in all future subsequent games, such as Full Sync. And with Full Sync, it gives you a list of prerequisites that you have to complete while completing the mission. Basically, it's like you're completing the memory the exact way Ezio lived it. So, it'll say something like, don't swim, then you can't swim. Or don't kill anyone, or don't be detected, stuff like that. Some little extra thing, complete the temple within 8 minutes, and it's one of those constraints that in a normal game, I would probably say it constrains the freedom that you have over playing the game for yourself, but in this case, it actually unlocks something phenomenal, actually. It unlocks more backstory, which I haven't exactly complete that storyline, but I'm working on it. I've completed the main storyline, I've completed pretty much all of the broken aqueducts and the temples and the layers of Romulus, which act as assassins' tombs. But when it comes to these storylines, though, for the full sync, you actually get a little bit of backstory in the form of Christina missions. What happened to Christina from the second game? She's kind of dropped off the planet after the first, like, 3 sequences or whatever. After that little bit that she was in, you never hear about her again until Revelations, if you haven't played the full sync in Brotherhood. So it's a good way to get some backstory, and it actually puts you back in the place of Assassin's Creed 2 with Assassin's Creed 2 graphics, per se. So it's a really interesting, unique twist on the backstory of Ezio and his lover, Cristina Vespucci. So, sorry if I pronounce any of these Italian names wrong. I'm not exactly from Italy, so I can't really speak with that accent that they have. So, when it comes to Brotherhood, you are Ezio Auditore da Firenze once again, and you are on a quest to retrieve the Apple of Eden that was lost to you when Monteriggioni Villa was destroyed, and a certain pivotal character is actually destroyed along with it and killed, brutally murdered, mind you. I'm not going to name who it is, but one of the key pivotal characters from Assassin's Creed 2 dies within the second sequence. And, of course, the Apple of Eden is stripped from you, and one of your main allies is imprisoned. And you have to rescue her while retrieving the Apple of Eden. So, basically, that is the setup for the main story. It's a very interesting twist, and a lot of this stuff is actually historically accurate. This game also introduces 2 newcomer villains, Cesare Borgia and his sister Lucrezia, which is also kind of his incestual lover, which is actually a crime back then. Well, probably still is, but whatever. It is a crime. He is actually arrested for it in the end, so, or in the story. So basically, these 2 are the rulers, and Rodrigo is kind of pushed off to the side more as a side villain. He's still in the story. He's still kind of running things behind the works like a sinister villain would, but he's not as prevalent as, say, Cesare or Lucrezia. So there's also a French villain called the Baron, the Baron or whatever, and he's also introduced as a sinister villain as well. So there's a lot of different side plots and everything that you can do, lots of different quests, and the story itself, while people call it an expansion pack of Assassin's Creed 2, if you just focus on the storyline, like the main story, nothing else, no Borgia towers, no renovations, or as few renovations as humanly possible, then yeah, it is shorter. But if you actually go out of your way to do all the things that you would have done in Assassin's Creed 2 as an extra, then it's about the same length as Assassin's Creed 2's story. So, while it is shorter, I mean, it is a lot more open. They add a lot more improvements to game mechanics, such as now you can actually perch up on a ledge and shoot your crossbow, which is also another ranged weapon they add, or your pistol, the returning pistol that actually loads a lot faster due to some calibrations that Leonardo da Vinci has made. So basically, again, you know, you're going to probably hate me for making this comparison again. In the beginning, when the villa is destroyed, you lose all of your equipment a la Altair and Alucard from Symphony of the Night. So I know I make that comparison to Alucard a lot, but it really is kind of one of those recurring themes in the Assassin's Creed series, and a lot of series that I've actually seen. It's a really interesting gameplay mechanic, but it kind of makes you feel like a stoic badass at first, and then you get everything stripped, and you're just like, what the fuck? That's such a cock tease, you know? It just, you hate it, but then you love it. It's kind of one of those mixed bags, I suppose. But when it comes down to it, Brotherhood reuses some music and some atmospheric elements, as well as some voice acting to make it feel like an overall fresh yet familiar experience. So there's a lot of different assassin tombs. There are Templars, of course, all over the place. Flags actually make a return from the first game. You had the option to go out and collect Templar flags in the first game. That makes an appearance as well. So there's a lot of different things from the first game and from the second game that make recurring appearances that reappear in this game, more so. So basically, when it comes down to it, this game is not just an expansion pack of 2, although I wouldn't rate it as highly as 2, just because of its relatively short length when it comes to everything else, and kind of the confusion when it comes to the storylines and how the missions kind of intertwine with each other, as well as the timing. So when it comes to the graphics, though, it's definitely up there with the best in the series. I must say, I was very impressed with the graphics at first. However, after a while, after comparing it with 2, I definitely like 2's style better. It has more realistic lighting, but the environments are improved in Brotherhood, and the lighting on the environments is improved. There's more textures. However, more textures comes more pixelation. So this is definitely a very grainy, kind of sparkly game. It sounds like they tried to just put too much into too little. So when it comes to the graphics themselves, they're not all that impressive when compared to 2's, but on their own, it's pretty good, pretty damn impressive for the 360, especially in 2010. Overall impressions, I would probably rate this game a 9.8 out of 10. It is just shy from perfect. I really love this game. It was critically acclaimed, just like Assassin's Creed 2. It is a continuation of the monumental assassination story of Ezio Auditore da Firenze as he continues to rebuild Rome. And might I add that while you rebuild Rome, you actually get a percentage. You actually feel like you're rebuilding an empire, a fallen city, if you will, and it actually gives you a substantial reward for doing so. I must say this is one of my favorite Assassin's Creed games, and I would rate it just below 2. 9.8 out of 10, this is Midnight Strike 3625. Keep calm and rock on.